Do you ever get to the 1 week before you have to report back to your campus and feel like, where has my summer gone? I know that feeling all too often. I've felt it for 13 years, and I swear we start off the summer with all these plans about doing all the activities that we want to do, and also including in that little bit of time, maybe like a month before school starts, of planning. And you start putting together your information, or you put a plan together to start planning. But where does the time go? It's like that month flies by and you haven't even begun to put together your outline or your syllabus or anything that you had planned to get ahead with. Well, I'm here to talk to you about the back to school scaries and how you can prepare yourself for the semester and day one of back to school. Let's go. You're listening to Marketing Adventure, the hub for business, fashion, marketing, and other CTE educators who integrate marketing into the learning experience. I'm your host, Jackie Walker. Each week, I'll cover marketing education concepts, strategies, tips, trends, frameworks, and other information to equip you to connect your classroom to digital natives while cultivating an engaged learning environment. So come on into the room where your favorite beverage, snacks, and even your cell phone are all welcome. As someone who has been the only content instructor for my subject area in my district, I've always had pretty much a solo prep time. I remember when we would gather in the auditorium and our principals and administrators would say, break out into your planning groups with your content area. And most of the CTE teachers on my campus, because we were a magnet school that had like 18 different magnet programs, automotive, horticulture, architecture, graphic and design, all these different content areas. And we were in silos in which we taught in silos. And generally in those content areas, there were only maybe 2 or 3 teachers in those areas, but those teachers had their own content areas. So you may have had a teacher who only taught the 9th grade level of that magnet program. Or you may say, for instance, like our automotive, they had diesel, car repair, and then shop, like body repair. So they were all teaching different things under the umbrella of automotive. Well, the same thing happened with me in fashion. We had 2 teachers. There was a fashion design teacher and a fashion marketing teacher. And I, of course, was the fashion marketing teacher. So we did not have content that overlapped. Now, we did work collaboratively whenever we did our fashion show, but our day-to-day, week-to-week content was not aligned with one another. So I always had to prepare my content by myself. So I'm just going to go over how you can begin the planning process for your content for the semester to make it a little bit easier for you to navigate the content, the topics, and preparing your lesson plans. For me, I always felt like when planning for the semester, it worked better when I planned backwards. That means looking at what my end desire is for my content, where I want it to end up at the end of the semester, would allow me to begin to work backwards and say, okay, if I want to have this career plan that's a semester long project, then let me plan backwards, because I know my goal is for them to present a career plan that has a resume. It has them looking at all the 4 levels of the industry and all of those things. If I want them to produce that, then let me look back at Number one, how long do I think it's going to take them to collect all of that information? Number two, then what content do I want them to focus on each week or grading period during the semester so that at various points during the semester, I have an outline of what they will turn into me. So they're not just, oh, waiting to the last day of the last week of the semester and turn to saying, oh, I have to do all this work. No, let's plan it out. We start with the end in mind, and then we work backwards to break it up into little chunks for them to work on throughout the semester. So planning backwards helps you get a great idea of what you're going to be doing over the semester. So what you want to do is first obtain the book or the subject matter that you're going to be using as your guideline for your content. You want to look over that, the units that you're going to be covering or that are available for you to cover. You want to look at all of the course content that you have access to, and then determine in that semester, what topics do I really want to hone in on? Because if you look at a book and you see all these units and all these chapters, honestly, you cannot cover every single topic in a semester and really help the students gain an understanding of that content. So you're generally going to have to select, your hot topics that you feel would be beneficial for the students and that they will be interested in, and that will help them learn more about the industry that you're teaching, which is fashion for us. All right, so you're going to select your major topics, and then you're going to outline your semester on where you're going to teach the topics and you can do this by grading periods if that helps, or you can just make it a weekly plan. Any way you do it is going to end up where you're going to have to look at it on a weekly level anyway. So think about, what do you want to teach them in each particular grading period that's going to lead up to the projects that you're going to have them to do. And then you want to outline each week so that you have this plan of what you're going to cover each week so that you can be sure that your topics are covered, your content is covered, and that you're fitting in all of the activities that you want to do leading up to the project. Now, once you have your outline together and you've laid it out over the semester of what you're going to be teaching at what point in time in the semester, then you want to gather up your teaching and presentation materials so that you can have your presentation slideshows to use as you're presenting topics and subject matter content, or you can have your handouts or whatever it is that you want to use as a teaching resource. It could be YouTube videos, it could be podcast, it could be slideshow presentations, whatever it is that you have decided that you wanted to present. The resources that you have found, gather those things so that you can have them handy for when you get ready to teach those particular subject matters. And it'd be great to develop like a Google Drive, a folder for every content area or every topic area so that you will know where you can easily access that information. Now that you've done all of your planning and you've created your outline and you've gathered your resources, let's talk about the projects. I like to start with projects because the projects are your big end goals. They could be end goals for your grading period. It could be your end goals for the semester. Like I mentioned, the career research project. That is a semester project because it happens all through the semester. The project that I have. Now, some other teachers may have projects that are just 6 weeks long or a couple of weeks long. It varies, but the one I have is a very comprehensive project that carries you from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester. Then there are projects that you could have that are 2, 3, up to 6 weeks coverage at a time, depending on what all is entailed in that project. But I like to look at what projects I'm going to have for the semester because this gives us an end goal to work toward, and then come back and look at the activities that will help the students learn the concepts of that project and fill in those activities, what activities you're going to do daily and what activities you're going to do weekly that will help the students understand the content and understand the concepts and be ready to do the project at the end of the grading period or for the end of the semester or whenever those projects will be interjected into your lesson plans. So, with your lesson plan, you want to start off with a title page. I love to have a colorful title page that has a picture or graphic of what my content area is. Since I had 4 different grade levels that I was teaching, everybody's cover page was different and it represented whatever the content was for that semester because all of my classes were semester classes except for my freshman class, which was a year-long class. So I would have a graphic that represented the content area, and I would have the title of the course. I would have the grade level, my name, the room number, and then on that cover page, I may have just a little bit of a description of what the content is. And then once they flipped it over to the second page, I would do a letter to the parents and I would welcome the parents if it was their first freshman year and give them an overview of what the course is about, let them know things that they could expect, just high level, from the course and my expectation of the student. And I would put my name and phone number and email address at the bottom of the letter. And this was just a feel good thing to do so that the parents would have something that they can read that was directly from me. After the letter to the parents, I would have an acknowledgement page, and this acknowledgement page had every area of the syllabus listed as an outline, and then it had parent column, and then it had a student column where each one of them would have to initial each line and sign at the bottom, sign and date at the bottom, and return that to me. That's because that was an acknowledgement that they read through every part of the syllabus and they agreed to every part of the syllabus. So I would have that follow immediately behind the parent letter. And then the next page would be an overview of the course. So the overview of the course page had information, summary of the course. It gave the standards that course supported. As far as for Texas, the TEKS, I don't know what it's called in other states. And then it had the resources that we use, the book, generally that we would use. And then it also had information if we were using an LMS, what that system was, and just any other general information, what materials the students may need. So that was what was on the overview of the course page. And it would then lead into the course outline. So I would do a weekly outline of what what we were going to cover. So it would be a topic column. There would be a column for the assignments, and then a column that had the scheduled due dates for each one of those assignments that are listed in the syllabus. And after the semester outline, I would have information regarding all of the guidelines and policies. We had district policies, we had campus policies, and I would put my classroom policies and guidelines as well. We also had a grading policy that we had to put in our syllabus, as well as a dress code policy, a late work and missing work policy, and attendance policy. So those are just some of your basics that you can have in your syllabus. so that you can make sure that you're covering all of the information that the parent and the student need to know to be successful for that course. Now, of course, like I said, your district, your campus is going to have their own standards of information, but it would be great if you can incorporate these or some of these into what your district and campus wants for you to have for your syllabus. Hey, adventurous educator. I just want to take a quick break to ask, is this your first time teaching fashion marketing, or do you need a boost in your curriculum? Well, look no further. Now, they do have a starter pack of activities for fashion marketing. It includes a pacing guide. It covers a 6-week period of time. During that time, it will have one presentation that you can give to your students. It has 19 activities that you can go through, and the pacing guide tells you when to plug those activities in. And then it has 3 projects that it consists of, a total of 329 pages and slides of information that you can share with your students. And I'll show you here what that consists of. So as you see, the first week there's a what is fashion to me activity. This is something for the students to talk about themselves. Then they do an activity about a celebrity. And that gets them involved and engaged, doing a little bit of research. And this is just in the first week, something fun to do. And then by the time the second week comes around, the Big 4 Fashion Weeks are happening in September, the first week of September. So here's a project you can introduce to them where they can start researching the fashion activities, starting with New York Fashion Week and going on there to Milan and London and Paris. And during that time, you also can introduce to them some activities that look at the elements and principles of design, because they will look at those when they're doing that Big 4 Fashion Week project. And then this is a simple marketing activity. You can start with introducing marketing to them. So there's 2 marketing projects. And then in the third week, I suggest introducing this semester-long project for fashion careers. It's not something that's done in 1 or 2 weeks. It's actually done over the semester. So they'll take bits and pieces and do that over the semester. And then here's some activities that are fashion activities for that week. And then some marketing activities. You can touch on marketing functions and introduce that concept to them. All right. So you have an activity and then you have a quiz that you will introduce during the third week. And then in the fourth week, you start talking about the fashion cycles. So then we start talking about fashion movement, fashion cycles, fashion theory. You have a couple of activities that you would do. And then we would move into the marketing activity. And this is the fashion theories. There's a simple slideshow that they will fill in about fashion theory, once you teach that. And then there's I use the puzzles as like a quiz with the students, like an assessment. And then here's the marketing activity you can introduce for that week. Market segmentation, talking about target market and all of that. So there's an activity and then there's a quiz. And then we will move into the fifth week, which is the second big project. Not the career project, to me, is like their overall arching semester project. But this is the second project that would be introduced the fifth week, environmental factors. It has an activity connected to it. And then you have your marketing activity that you can introduce. Competition. So they have an activity and then they would have a quiz on competition. I mean, that's your 6 weeks for your starter pack.
See the link by show notes for more information about the starter pack.
Now, after you've done all of that planning and research, it's time for you to create some lesson plans, right? Our favorite thing to do. So lesson plans, let me tell you, were not my favorite. And I have to be honest to say that I don't think I ever went through a whole year. As a matter of fact, I know I did not ever go through a whole year and submit lesson plans every week. I know I didn't, but it's just up to your district as to what their policy is on lesson plans. It's always great. I always felt really good when I had a very detailed and outlined lesson plan ready to go. It made planning and prep so easy for the week. So let's get into what would be some great things to include in your lesson plan. Every district, every campus is going to have their own guideline of what they want. If they don't, then hey, here is an outline that would be good for you to incorporate into your planning. I'm going to give you just a small outline of what a good comprehensive lesson plan should include. And with your district, you can include these and whatever other particular items that they want you to put in your lesson plan. Because I know my district surely had an outline of what they wanted, and my campus had an outline of what they wanted as well. So for your lesson plans, generally they're going to cover Monday through Friday. And in your lesson plans, to have a really good lesson plan, you want to make sure that you put your topic on there, of course. We had our name, our topic, our grade level, what period it is that this lesson plan is for, and you want to include your standards. So those are at the top so that you have a good idea of what this lesson plan is going to cover. So you'll have your standards, and then you list your objectives, and then you want to list your demonstration of learning is what we used in our district. And that's just to talk about what the student is expected to learn and what the outcome should be from their learning, what you want them to attain to show proof that they accomplished and they mastered what it is that they were taught and what they learned. So the demonstration of learning. And then you want to include some intervention and extension of the curriculum for differentiated learning. So what would it be that you could include in your lessons that would help students who struggle with various things or that they learn differently? How are you going to put some different things in there to help that student master the content? If they can't do it how you're normally presenting it to other students, maybe they need a little bit extra. So you want to put in your lesson plan, like what are those extra things that you're going to include and do for those students who need that little bit of help. And then you want to put what the assessments are. How will you evaluate the students' learning? It could be quizzes or it could be a full exam. You also want to put in some keywords that you want them to learn during that lesson. So that's always good to highlight those keywords so that you will know and you can look back on whether they, and you can assess them on whether they learned those keywords and what the outcome was of that. And as a part of your lesson plans, you can also develop exemplars from previous student work or create an exemplar of how the student work should look so that they will know what it is that you're looking for in the information that they're providing in their work to you. So that's just a brief outline of what your lesson plan should entail or possibly entail. Okay, we've talked about the planning. We've talked about the lesson plans. We've talked about the syllabus. Let's talk about day one. We've done this planning. We've gotten ourselves together. Now is the first day of school. What do we do? If you're a new teacher, that could be pretty overwhelming. I mean, even if you're a veteran teacher, you still could have a little bit of the scaries about the first day of school because you're getting a whole new set of students. You don't know what to expect from these students year to year. So yeah, let's talk about day one. So of course your campus is going to have their own list of things that they want you to do on the first day of school. And that's just getting all of the admin things taken care of. Making sure the students have their schedules, making sure that you've done your attendance because they're tracking all the students who showed up for the first day of school, making sure that you let the students know dress code policy, all of these different things. Yes, you're going to get that out of the way and do that. But then what do you do next with your students? Because there is still leveling that's going on. You might not even have half the students in your class by the time they finish changing everybody's schedule around to level out the classes and everything. So what do? You really don't want to get into actual teaching. I know some teachers are all about that first day learning. But for me, even though I had my same students year after year, we always had mix up in our schedules, and half of my students wouldn't be in my class that needed to be there. And then there was another half of the class was filled with students that shouldn't have been there. So I would not do any of my projects and my learning activities until the second week. So, what do you do when you have um, classes filled with students that you don't know if they're going to be your permanent students for the semester? How do you begin your day one, your first week of school? So, let's just focus on day one for right now. Day one. Have an engagement activity. Give them something that is going to pique their interest, make them want to go out to the internet and search for different things, and just engage their minds, right? Okay, so for me, I have a fashion is to me activity that really allows them to talk about themselves because they love to do that. And they get to demonstrate what their fashion style is. And so that gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit about them as well. So you let them do the engagement activity, and then take some time after they've finished that engagement activity, or if they're halfway through it, pause the class and say, hey, okay, now that you have a little bit of time to engage your mind, to do a little bit of research, to talk a little bit about yourself on a Google Doc, because this is done like through a PowerPoint. So they're either using like Google Slides or PowerPoint or even Canva to create this document. So just pause them and say, I want to give you a little bit of information about myself. So then you would do an introduction of yourself. And what do you tell them? You don't want to give them all the details about you, but you want to give them enough so they can get to know you as a person. So I like to, of course, tell them my name. I have two kids, so I told them about my children, whatever phase of life they were in. And at that time in high school, my son ran track. My daughter was a cheerleader. I would tell them about those things because you want to do things that are going to engage them. Like, oh, she's a real person. She has real children. Her children are normal, so you want to do all of those things that you can capture their attention and engage them because likely you may have some cheerleaders in your class. You may have some athletes in your class. So that helps them relate to you. And then when my kids went off to college, I told them what colleges they went to, what they were doing, and so I talked about them just a little bit. And then I would tell them about my education because this is a fashion class and I want them to know that I went to school for fashion and what was my educational pathway to that and after that. And then I talked about my career so they can understand, oh, this is what you can do with a fashion degree, and what you can do even if you veer off the path of fashion. So I told them about going into corporate America, being a project manager, being in sales and all of that. So they got to learn a little bit about me and my career pathway, which really interests them because they're at that exploration stage in life where they're thinking about what they're going to do after high school. All right. And then I would bring it back around to why I teach because my career did not start off as a teacher. Teaching was like my third career. And so I would talk about why I teach, what brought me back or what brought me to the classroom. And that always made them feel like, wow, she came because she wanted to teach us and help us along the way and learn some things that she learned along the way, and be able to use that for us to follow a path, whether it's into fashion or whatever it is that they want to do. And then most times I had a theme for the school year. So I would talk about what my theme was, and the class would be decorated with that representing that theme and why I chose that theme. So that could be something you can do as well. And so that's you introducing yourself and pulling the kids into who you are so that y'all can have that connection. Next, I would talk about the actual career pathway that they were in, and fashion marketing is under the marketing pathway. So I would talk about the pathway. I would talk about the course content and outline for my program so that they would understand how they're going to navigate through my program. Now, if you don't have a program and you're just teaching this fashion marketing as just a part of something that you're doing for fashion design or business or maybe this is just the only thing you're teaching is fashion marketing and you don't have a full out program, then you just talk about the marketing pathway, and then how fashion fits into that pathway. And you could talk about other courses that are in the marketing pathway in case they're trying to figure out like how they want to navigate through the marketing pathway to from freshman to senior year. You could talk about that, but I would introduce my courses so that they would just have an understanding of what to expect over the years as they navigate through the fashion marketing program. And then I would talk about the particular course that they're taking so they can understand what this course is all about, what we're going to be doing, and just, the expectations. And then I would talk about industry. So how does this all fit into the industry? What can I even do with this information that I'm learning? What jobs does it connect to? College wise, what could I study in college? Just all of those things. And inevitably, students want to know, like, what jobs can I do that pay me the most money? So they want to understand like how money and jobs connect to what they're learning in the classroom. And that's fine. And I tell them we're going to explore all of that because I have a career research project that you get to go out and look at these different things and find that information out. So you definitely want to let them know what the class is all about. Lastly, for your first day, day one, have the students to fill in an About Me page. Even if you're not going to get these students back, it's still good to have this on hand, the first thing for them to do so that they can actually, you can actually have some information about them. So on this About Me page, you, of course, they're going to have their name, their grade level, what class period they're in, their date of birth. You want them to put information about their siblings, their parents, a lot of their faves, what are their favorite candies, snacks, foods to eat, movies to watch, brands that they like, fashion designers, where they like to shop, all of those things. So you can just come up with a lot of different things that to get them talking about themselves and have them to fill in that information. Let them color the page, or if you want them to go into Canva and do it and create this wonderful, bright, creative document about themselves, let them do that. And that way you have something that you can fall back on and to connect with them. Because maybe if they do something in the class and you're giving rewards out, you can have their favorite snacks or their favorite candies, all of that different things. You can use that information to connect to the students. So that is the last thing that I would say that you would need for day one, or even you can spread this over week one. All right, so just to recap, what we would do to break those back to school scaries and get ready for the students for day one is we're going to do some planning, and then we're going to get into developing the lesson plans, and then creating the syllabus, and then doing an introduction of yourself, an introduction of the course information, and then have the students do an introduction of themselves by completing an About Me page. Now, I hope this information has been helpful to you. I hope that you're able to incorporate it into your beginning of the school year, and I hope that helps some of your scaries go away with the planning and prep for beginning of school. I do thank you for joining me here at Marketing Adventure with Jackie, and I hope to see you next week. Again, have a wonderfully blessed day and a wonderful school year. Thanks for listening to Marketing Adventure. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with someone you think would benefit from the information shared here today. If you have any questions or want to connect with me, find me on Instagram at Marketing Adventure. All links and resources discussed in this episode can be found in the show notes at marketingadventure.com.